Eating in the twilight and in the dark. In Luke's gospel, there is told a story of two disciples on the road to Emmaus. So full of their distractions that they could not see in that moment that the companion with whom they were on the journey was Jesus. The story says that finally they recognize him. But it's not when he talks scripture, not when they look at him in the noontime sun, but when it is twilight and they decide to stop for some supper. The story says he was known to them in the breaking of the bread. The literal meaning of the word companion means with the bread. We are here on earth inhabiting our lives and here in this place made holy by our love, here to share communion with our companions. And every time we eat, we are together with the bread. I invite us this day to reframe communion as a meal we eat in the light and a meal that we eat in the dark, and to taste every meal with which we are blessed, to taste it, to taste and see the communion that every meal is when we're alone and when we're with others. For it is holy to be able to break bread, and it is especially holy when we're able to break bread together. An old prayer says, some people in this world have much food and no friends. Some people have many friends, but no food. And in this day, we have the profound blessing to have both. For the bounty of friends and food, O God, make us truly thankful. For the opportunity presented to us in every meal when we gather together physically or when we celebrate in our hearts, when we eat physically sighted or not. We eat that meal when we are aware and discerning. We eat that meal rejoicing in the light that infuses the food, the life force, the veriditas, the God energy that is in the world and in us. For every opportunity that is presented to us at every meal, when we're physically sighted or not, the opportunity to eat it as if in the dark, with our eyes closed and our hearts open, filled with the awareness of the true nature of the moment. When we do that, whether it is light or whether it is dark, we are discerning the life and death, the land and the labor, and we're remembering those who have formed the food and the drink. When we are eating and drinking with discernment, we are celebrating with all our senses the gifts of life that God has given us. God in the earth, smelling the odors of preparation, touching the textures of the food, experiencing and listening for the parts that snap and the parts that sizzle, enjoying the saute of blessing. When we eat and drink with discernment, we eat and drink remembering the Lord's death until he comes, as the old scriptures say. On the occasion of his last night on earth, and truly we never know when that may be, Jesus took the bread to break it and pass it around. He raised a glass and challenged them all to drink of it. Remember me, he said. Remember this night. Remember the longing and the love that is poured out. Remember. Remember when you eat and when you drink and when you remember. And when you are thankful, then you are sharing the grace and mercy and just and forgiveness of God. When your life is poured out in light and in love, then every meal becomes a sacrament. You are invited in your home today in some way, however you would like, to take in bread, to taste the goodness of the cup, to taste and see, to let the scent of the grapes rise from the glass, to look into the blessed dark of your own inner self, to remember the light of your companion's gaze, to remember God's life, Christ's death, that Christ lives in us, and that we are invited into the world to live the love of God with one another. Taste and see. Taste and see that life, that God, and that you are good, blessed, and beloved.